invite Dr. Reena Gupta to share her views on managing anterior uveitis. Dr. Reena Gupta is a faculty at Regional Institute of Ophthalmology, PGIMS Rohtak. She is a professor there and also takes care of the pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus unit. She did her MBBS in 2005 from Government Medical College, Jammu. She was gold medalist in surgery, and MS from the same medical college she completed in 2009. She also completed fellowship in International Council of Ophthalmology and long-term fellowship from Dr. Shroff Charity Eye Hospital in phacoemulsification, pediatric cataract, and pediatric disorders. Her mentors have been Dr. Suma Ganesh, Dr. Umang Mathur, and Dr. Kaman Parsa. Area of experience and interest are pediatric cataract, pediatric complex strabismus, and of course uveitis. She has many publications in various international, national, and index peer-reviewed journals. And to her credit, large number of paper and poster presentations, international, national conferences. She won the best paper presentation in a session in the annual conference of the North Zone Journal of Ophthalmology in 2019, gold medal for best case presentation in SPOSI DOS International Congress 2017, and gold medal for best e-poster presentation in the annual SPOSI Conference 2020. I invite Dr. Reena to please share her slides.
Good evening, everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So I'll be discussing anterior uveitis. Anterior uveitis, it consists of around 30 to 70% cases of all uveitis cases. And it may involve inflammation of the iris or the anterior part of the ciliary body or both the structures. Sun Group has classified anterior uveitis on the basis of the duration, course of the disease. It can be acute uveitis, recurrent uveitis with repeated episodes when there are periods of inactivity of at least 3 months duration without treatment, and chronic uveitis, in which the relapses occurs in less than 3 months after discontinuing the treatment. Based on the pathology, it can be granulomatous or non-granulomatous, and based on the etiology, it can be classified as infective group, which consists of 30% of the cases, including the viral infections, the systemic infections, as well as the parasitic infections, and non-infective group, in which includes with systemic diseases, in which the HLA-B27 positive, seronegative spondyloarthropathies are the most common, without systemic disease, in which the idiopathic causes are the most common. So elaborate history is a key to diagnose anterior uveitis. Whenever a patient usually presents with a typical history of pain, photophobia, and redness, so we should inquire about the age of the patient, the gender, the onset of the disease, and what is the course of the disease, whether it's a first episode, it's a recurrent disease, or it's a chronic disease, a unilateral presentation or a bilateral presentation, unilateral alternating presentation, which is seen in HLA-B27 positive cases. And then also a socioeconomic background of the patient is very important if he's a dog or cat handler or he's a sewer worker, because these are prone to parasitic infections. And also the systemic history and previous treatment history has to be taken. Follow with the complete clinical evaluation, which consists of best corrected visual acuity, a slit lamp biomicroscopic examination to note for the external or next examination, as well as anterior segment examination. Intraocular pressure has to be measured. Usually these patients have a low intraocular pressure. Once the inflammation subsides, it returns back to normal. But if the patient has ocular hypertension, we have to keep in mind Fuchs and Persson-Schulzman syndrome and herpetic uveitis. Then a detailed fundus examination to rule out any presence of any vitreous cells, or to rule out posterior uveitis and intermediate uveitis. Presence of circumcorneal congestion is seen, and there are cases like Fuchs in which patient usually presents with a white eye. Look for corneal edema, and if there is any signs of keratouveitis, corneal sensations have to be tested to rule out herpetic uveitis. KPs, they help in the classification of the disease, like small and medium-sized KPs in the inferior part is usually seen in non-granulomatous uveitis, and large mutton fat KPs are they are typical of granulomatous uveitis. A discrete stellate type of KPs are present in Fuchs uveitis, and also they tell us about the disease activity. Like active disease, the fresh KPs are small, they're rounded, and they have elevated margins, whereas old KPs are pigmented and they have these crenated margins. And Next is the anterior chamber. The depth of the chamber has to be measured centrally as well as peripherally. With the slit beam of 1 into 1 millimeters in size, we look for the signs of inflammation. Grading has to be done to note the severity of the disease as well as the response to treatment. Hypopyon is a typical presentation of patients with Behçet's disease, where you see a shifting hypopyon, or patients with HLA-B27 positive cases, or herpetic uveitis. In iris, look for the color of the iris, if there's presence of any edema or the iris atrophy, which indicates a herpetic uveitis, or diffuse atrophy with heterochromia is typical of Fuchs. And also look for nodules too, which are present in granulomatous uveitis. Note for the size of the pupil, the presence of focal synechiae, which are seen in acute cases, or diffuse synechiae, seclusive pupil with iris Bombay formation, or if there are exudates in the pupillary area. And then followed by anterior vitreous examination and a fundus examination. Also, chronic uveitis patients may present with posterior subcapsular or band-shaped keratopathy. So at the end of the clinical evaluation, we can classify the disease into granulomatous or non-granulomatous, acute or chronic, and also look for systemic signs to look for any systemic disease if it is associated. Like bamboo spine is there, and patients with children, if he has arthritis, which is associated. So moving on to the investigations, there's a list of investigations, but not all these investigations have to be asked. Once we have done the thorough clinical workup, we can classify the disease. So if a patient, you see a patient with non-granulomatous uveitis and it's a mild uveitis, no investigation is required. But in patients who present to you moderate to severe or recurrent uveitis, in those patients get a HLA-B27 if he's a young adult, and if it's positive, then look for the spondyloarthropathies. And if it is negative in those patients, if it is recurrent, then we need to look for granulomatous uveitis. And if there's a hypopyon with a genital ulcers, then always we can suspect Behçet disease and get HLA-B5 tested. Whereas in children, if there's an associated arthritis, we always look for ANA testing, and where the bilateral involvement is there, in those patients, we usually get the renal function test done. In patients with granulomatous uveitis, the first thing is that you need to exclude the Fuchs uveitis by the clinical examination. And after that, if, in these granulomatous uveitis patients who have bilateral presentation, in those patients always get a baseline test done, like chest X-ray, Montudin test has to be done, ACE levels have to be seen, VDRL test has to be done. And then if the patient has any associated subcutaneous nodules or breathlessness, we test specifically for sarcoidosis. And if the patient is a HIV positive patient or is alcoholic or he has any recent exposure, we have tuberculosis in mind. In those patients, we can get gold quantiferon test done and treat the patient, diagnose the patient by doing specific tests for tuberculosis, and you can refer him to an infectious specialist as well. Patients can also be classified on the basis of the severity of the disease. Like if it's acute uveitis, you have in mind the spondyloarthropathies, HLA-B27 positive, Behçet's disease, and idiopathic causes. If it's a moderate presentation, in those patients, we take into consideration the collagen vascular disorders as well as the systemic causes. And for chronic cases, we JIA and Fuchs uveitis are the differentials. Coming to the treatment part, all the non-infective patients, the mainstay of treatment are the topical corticosteroids, which have to be given intensively for 2 days. And after that, they can be tapered over a few weeks. We can give cycloplegics to relieve the spasm and the pain. And also, we can add on NSAIDs. The role of immunosuppressants in anterior uveitis has already been covered by Sir. There's a role in patients with JIA and VKH who present with recurrent anterior uveitis. And for the infective causes, we need to treat the infection, and that helps in the resolution of the inflammation. So surgical intervention is needed in patients who are complicated by uveitis, like patients who have presence of ERM or cataract is there, or secondary glaucoma is there, or there's a cystoid macular edema. And all these complications need to be treated surgically. So how to evaluate a case of anterior uveitis? Elaborate history, clinical examination has to be done, on the basis of which you can classify the patients. And once a classification is done, then specific investigations can be advised to make a diagnosis, and the patients can be treated accordingly.